Talofa lover, welcome back to another episode of Thirstee Coconut, the show where we deep dive into real stories from inspiring people making waves in their communities and across the world. Today's guest is someone who embodies purpose, culture, and service. Yohni Fepuleai is of Samoan heritage and currently lives in the Solomon Islands with his wife and children. He works as a fisheries official, helping to protect one of the world's most valuable and vulnerable resources, the ocean. Warden's journey has taken him from the islands of Samoa to international waters through university prayers and into a career dedicated to sustainability and service. Today, we'll explore his story from his youth and education to his travels across the Pacific. His deep reflections on what it means to be someone in Pacifica in today's world. This conversation is for anyone curious about heritage, environmental action, or just figuring out how to use your story to make a difference. Whether you're a Polynesian, a student, an aspiring environmentalist, or someone just seeking inspiration, then this one's for you. Well, I mean, thanks for joining me on Thirstee Coconut. Great to have you.
Thank you very much, Rach. It's an honor to be on the show as well, and I'm pleased to have this opportunity, not only to showcase what you highlighted in the topics, and just excited to be part of the franchise.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. So I'm going to kick up with kind of your early life. I mean, I wanted to get you on the show, Wani, because I wanted to hear about your journey, and I'm more that your journey is going to inspire many young people, whether they're Pacifica, Polynesian, of any background. And as I said in my introduction, anyone who is looking to care for the environment, I just wanted to start off with, firstly, for those who are not Pacifica, what was life like growing up here in Samoa? Can you paint a picture for our listeners and our watchers who are not familiar with the Polynesian culture?
Thank you, Rach. So the journey started back in Samoa a couple of years ago. I'm still within my 30s. From the homeland, village of Hawaii and Pahali. We're just a humble family that strive to to serve the community and serve the government, and even starting up our own family, just from the parents and the siblings. So the journey is I wouldn't say a good one or a perfect one, but it started really from the low level, from the parents. We didn't have that much back then. So
Yeah.
it's all about sustaining and looking after ourselves, me and my brothers and sisters,
Yes.
and trying to build ourselves to get us in a better future. Um, so right from primary school to high school, just everything was in Ireland. So pretty much built us Samoan life, and started learning, exposing ourselves to good education to really help proper parents throughout the early years of life. Uh,
Yes.
we started more, um, not until we started seeing the opportunities of what our parents paid uh, through the way we were brought up, the education that we were exposed to, just grabbing that opportunity as it came across. So it was a bumpy ride as well, coming through those early stages of life. But
Yeah.
it was all about the passion and also the sacrifices of the parents. Not until um, in the late early 2000s, got some the opportunities to go abroad for to expand that education. But before you get to that level, a lot of the basics was really from Samoa itself, within the household, within the communities, serving the churches, and getting that basics right of what is needed in life. We have a saying for it, "Yeah, joa ona," in Samoan. So you know what to do in almost everything that we do at home. As long as you've
Yeah.
got those, that was a fundamental one before you move into an independent environment, going into school abroad. and also um, getting that exposure to the life outside Sam, which was
Yeah.
pretty challenging move in those stages. That was in still within my 20s, moving out. First one was in Fiji and then Australia later on for tertiary education. We've well, I went into that stage with the comfort of what I knew from Samoa itself, the culture, the
Yeah.
basics, the way of life, how to move around, how to talk,
Yep.
even the respect. That was a key one that we had. What you learn from the family itself. So that's a journey all the way up to the exposure of seeing, starting to speak English is another good example. Everything was Samoan right to Arc. But that exposure was a turning point of um, learning the outside world, what's happening, instead of looking at it on TV. The outside world was actually trial it and lived with it for a couple of years before returning back. So pretty much, um, it's it's a unique one. Instead of starting from outside coming in, but this one
Yeah.
is like most of the Samoans and the Pacific Islanders back in back home. We
Yeah.
we start off with the fundamentals within the household and the family. So living through it with your parents in your own house. Uh, I wouldn't say it's not a it's not a negative, but you maximizing and using that opportunity to learn from those around you within your household and also Samoa. So that's a quick snapshot. I'd love to expand on the what happened later on, but
Yeah.
the journey has been fantastic. I'm proud of it. Uh, I am also thankful for the work that has all those people that supported my journey throughout, especially my
Yeah.
parents. Yeah.
Where I think that's a really good insight, Yoni, because one of the things I was going to ask you is you mentioned, your family laid the foundations and obviously the levels of respect for the culture and the heritage before you then went abroad. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Yoni, was you were raised in a big Samoan family, right? So you've got a lot of siblings in the family, which is quite unusual for those who live abroad. Even our own heritage who live abroad, probably our family sizes are a little, sort of less um, in terms of siblings. What do you think were some of the values or lessons growing up, but still shaping those? So, of the things that you were speaking about, which are the ones that stood out to you that still shape who you are today from your upbringing?
Yeah, great. I think going back to the foundation was the anchor of where it started from. So just looking at the guidance from the parents themselves, the staying focused abroad, that was probably the key one. Um,
Yeah,
Evening prayers, attending service, looking after the elders, looking after pastor, the church pastor. So
yeah,
those very basics that it's you don't well, you do experience it overseas, but that's what I went through. Um,
yeah.
Looking at uh, living within our families. There's seven of us in the family. Uh,
Hmm.
there's quite a two that have the opportunity to start their life off abroad. But five of us that were in Samoa had to go through this life, and it was challenging at times. Sometimes you
Yeah,
get more because you see other people have more, but no regrets at all in terms of these basics experience throughout the households.
yeah,
And just foundation of it was God. The prayers itself, everything. Number one is staying focused to God and for His guidance upon anything that happens in life and throughout our journey. what happens within our family as well. Yeah.
If I think about, who we are as Polynesians, we're very God-fearing people. We live by the Bible, and we worship our God and our Lord. And we have many churches in Samoa, right? Many churches.
Quite a number of congregations as well.
Yes,
We've been fortunate enough to stick with one, the Congregational Christian Church, the FRKSA, and
yes,
something that is very we take pride of because of the role of our parents standing up the Vaivasi Congregational Church. I'm continuing that throughout my own bubble now with my children and my family.
yes,
It's something that will never go away because of that fantastic great start
yes.
in the early ages. But very proud
Yeah.
of what has where it came from.
And it's such a necessary, it's a thing to have as part of your life because it puts you in good stead. It sort of, it instills those, all the things that you were talking about, the quality in a person, the respect, and the fact that, you know that there's a greater thing. There's something that's greater than us, that we worship, not just ourselves, but obviously, our Christianity and our, and our God. Um, I think that's, such an important thing to continue, as your children grow up. I mean, I've seen your children, they're so incredible. They're incredible children. And, what you and, your family has done and instilled in your children is just fantastic. So did you say that, Christianity is pretty much at the core of who we are as, Samoans and particularly um, across the Pacific Islands? Would you say that, yeah, Christianity is the core of who we are?
At the heart of it, Rachel, Christianity is at the heart, not only Samoans, but the whole Pacific itself. You see the pride of the Pacific Islanders with their religion, their Christianity, and anything they do, like no other region or no other country. Not t- Something that I'm proud of as a Pacific Islander, but not putting it up too high is how close we are in terms of the foundations to God. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and you see it
yeah,
around in the Pacific everywhere you go. We
yeah,
experienced that in Solomon Islands, and same with back home. Something that will never uh, go away from us.
yeah, yeah. I agree because, having lived in New Zealand, there are many Samoans. It's a Christian, denomination, across New Zealand and, of course, here in Australia. There are many parts of Australia where, our Samoan and Pacific Islanders, Tonguans and, alike still worship, Jesus at various churches around the country. And so thanks for painting that picture for those who don't quite, know much about the Samoan heritage and obviously Pacific Islanders in general. Um, can I go back to your youth and, your kind of transition? I know you touched on, living abroad and so on. If you think back to like the days of when you were in high school, did you always see yourself leaving Samoa, or did you think that, that maybe you were going to be destined to staying on the island?
Yeah, there's always that dream as a young child. You see so many, you, you, you see it on TV, and we watch TV a lot.
Yeah,
In life that you see of people overseas, you sort of admire it and sort of set a dream that one day you'll be living in the United States, one day you'll be living in New Zealand. So that was sort of something that track on the mind at the young teenage age.
yeah,
So I set it as a target, not in a way to live, but just to get that exposure outside as I built my way up from high school. You also had a couple of trips to visit family abroad, and you see the difference in terms of life. it was
Yeah.
encouraging for you to get that to that life, but also I was too young to notice how that difference can drive you too much away from the life in Samoa. So
Yes.
there is that uncertainty around uh, moving in between those different lives. But
Yes.
yes, there was a dream which I did set to not only get myself to an education abroad, especially at the tertiary university level. That
Yes.
was a number one goal. I wanted to get exposure to that, a little bit of time away from the family, and come back to give back to the family itself, and which I did end up achieving that goal after high school with the support of the parents and also the government. To it was it was an independent move, moving away from the family. You not really disconnected from the parents, but
Yes.
you go isolated. You do everything yourself, and a lot of the youth nowadays uh, are going through that path at the early
Yes.
stages, whether it's high school, boarding, or even university life. So it's a fantastic move, but I did set it. I managed to return from it with a clear picture of the risk of living abroad as well, and the exposure and some of the what you need to be aware of, uh, especially with the fast pace living abroad. And coming back was interesting that you and a lot of a lot of people may relate to it. Was the when you shift back, there is trying to balance not yourself not to be too obvious that you've exposed and you've adapted to that outside life.
Yes.
But it was a short period, but managed to handle it very well. Coming back into the family, and also serving the government straight after when I came back.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And I think I'm gonna get into more about your service with the government because I just think it's just such a selfless thing to do to service, the government and obviously your country. And many countries across the Pacific, I think it's such a selfless thing to do, and I think it's one that many people aspire to be involved in. So I'm going to ask you more questions about that later. But in terms of your time abroad, I know you said it was just a few years just to get that exposure. You said that you managed to maintain your, sort of, um, the things that you learned growing up to making sure that you stay at the core and remember where you come from and who you are. What do you think was the biggest culture shock or challenge that you faced when you first moved overseas for that short period of time? What was the one thing that sort of shocked you at first that you'd never been exposed to?
Well, it was the life itself, the youth life away from the parents. It was those limits, uh, parental control. So you get that
Yes.
independent decision making, which
Yeah.
is a good test, but also the everything in general. When you look at it, the life abroad, everything is different from back home. The food, the 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 high standard of living that is available abroad. But it was as long as you got those basics that the respect and and the fatherhood, and how to serve, how to live, you wouldn't have any issues living abroad. So, but it was a great exposure. Although it was two different worlds, but it was yeah, I enjoyed it. Um,
Yeah.
you do some wrongs, you do some good things, you do some bad things, you learn from it, and then that was the best part of living independently abroad in a different country.
So insightful. When we're living abroad, it can be a little bit difficult to sustain the Fa'awalu and, sustain the way that you were brought up. But what are the things that, helped you stay grounded? Was it just continuous, sort of contact with your family and making sure that you remember your roots and you're always practicing the things that you'd learned when you were growing up? Were those some of the things that helped you stay grounded when you were away and independent?
Yeah, definitely. So staying connected to the parents every now and then, especially when there's low parts of life, you go through challenges on your journey abroad. So staying connected and getting that advice from the parent, and also just hearing their voice. It inspires you to fulfill that goal, not to be distracted. So that ongoing constant communication would be one factor, and also surrounding yourself with uh, an environment that doesn't really disconnects you from back home. So staying close to communities, Samoan communities, staying close to church, and also the friends that around you was something that
Yeah.
existed it, but also keep you grounded, um, keep you moving forward in a positive way, not backwards.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying it's perfect, but there was always times that those around you um, that pull you down or push you up. But yeah, just those right friends.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask you, Yoni, if you think about those tough times that you went through, which was the low and the high points, when it became really tough for you as a young man, how did you push through? Like, do you remember, when it was tough for you being away from the family unit for so long, what you did to sort of push through in those times?
Yeah. There's obviously prayers and that communications back to the parents. It even went as far as beyond my parents, just calling
Yes.
a couple of close people that were to me, uh, as my aunties, just to those that put a lot of effort to prepare you to go abroad. So keeping that
Yeah,
contact to them as well. Our pasta, which was very valuable as well. Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
You know what that sounds like to me? The power of community, the power of prayer, the power of, staying close to your family and trusting the people that that really help you stay grounded and push you through those voices that keep reminding you why we're there, right? That's
Yeah,
super,
and
super.
that was the early stage. That was the first one, but the second one was very much something that I can expand on. Was the leaving your family abroad. So there were two separate trips, which the later trip I had already my two boys, Feline
Yeah,
and but that was another uh, motivation was to keep contact with them and my wife, just to just to re, just to remind yourself that while you're away, oh, you've got a family that is cheering you up from home and counting on you to be successful and getting back to uh, just to give back to them for the family, give them a good future.
Yeah, I think that's and the things that you're saying are so relevant to anyone around the world, even if, to those who are living in New Zealand and obviously Australia and the US as well. Whenever you are away from your family, those are the things that keep you that keep remind you why you're doing what you're doing. And they're the people that remind you that, at the end of the tough days and the tough nights and, the boring times, you're gonna see them at the end. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
wise. They are the wise.
They're the wise. They
Yeah.
they become your reason, they become your purpose,
Yeah.
thing. And thanks for sharing that because yes, there was the travel that you did as a young man, and then there's the travel that you did as a father right, and a husband. Yeah, as a family man, exactly.
The
So maybe
the last one was a bit more. Was a bit. I was matured. It's not an issue in terms of that connection, but also uh, reminding yourself. But it's just there was a big difference between the two. Going in as a young teenager and going in as an in service adult, which is quite easier. You get to be role models for those young people that were abroad as well during that time, and
Yes.
would give that advice as a senior official.
Can you walk us through how you ended up in fisheries and what that journey looked like?
Yeah, great. So when I was in school, I tapped my dad's shoulder and I told him I wanted to be a mariner. I wanted to travel around the world in cruise ships, to be a sailor. So that has always been my dream at the start. Well, at the end of college, getting out to start finding your career in university. So that didn't happen. So after university, came back. It was more of the government assigning you to. There's a process for the Public Service Commission that they assign you to where you're most needed based on your experience and your skills that you learned from abroad. So I was placed in the government in the Ministry of Fisheries. I was doing work as a fisheries law enforcement officer. Um, so
Yeah.
we have a number of laws that we've set just to ensure the sustainable management of the fisheries resources. But we need practitioners and officers to start like talk to people, talk to community, talk to fishermen, and reminding them of the value of these laws, these conditions, such size limits. There's quite a number of it to talk about. Um, so that was my role. That was what I was assigned to do. So I've been doing that for couple of years, close to 7 years, and then I went back to university to do further studies. And I wanted to hit a policy career wise in terms of management and law enforcement. So I did a master's in fisheries policy in the University of Wollongong. That path, that stage of my career really changed me in terms of going beyond what's happening in Samoa. So looking at what's happening in the Pacific, what are the needs of the Pacific, and
Mhm.
also abroad as well. So it wasn't too long until I got back that I grabbed the opportunity that was offered here from the Foreign Fisheries Agency, which is an organization that is serving 17 Pacific Island countries uh,
Oh,
to anything to do with the mission of sustainable fisheries, looking at the tuna resources. So that's how I
oh,
ended up here in Solomon Islands, was the opportunity God gave me to serve the Pacific. But that stage of after that university in Australia really changed me. And I say that for a reason because of the um, it made me look beyond uh, what's happening just within our area, our coastal waters, Starboard. But just look at the neighboring countries. Look at up north. Look at down south, Cook Islands or Palau up north, and then you can easily you can feel that you have passion to serve the Pacific in terms of the fishery. So it was then I turned my hat to a full law enforcement surveillance capability, which is
right.
now the current role that I do now in the Pacific, was serving all the 17 Pacific Island countries in coordinating surveillance, and it's quite a fun job, Bridge. You you do a lot of technology, risk assessments, data and
Yeah.
analysis, and you do a lot of taskings of patrol boats and aircrafts for missions. Because
Yeah.
what you see in the movies, um, almost putting that into action in the fisheries lens, looking at a very big Pacific Ocean. It's something that
Yes.
all of our Pacific Island countries had challenges in. But I love what I
Yes.
do now, and even before. Um, Part of the reason why is because of I really want to ensure that I play a role in terms of the long term sustainability. These resources to be on the plates for the next plate of people, our children, for the next 50, 100 years. So that's a mission.
Ah,
I'm proud of where I've come. Starting
yes.
from back home, Samoa, working independently, and now serving the Pacific.
That's such an incredible story. And in terms of law enforcement that you're in now, serving, I think you said 17 Pacific Islands across the region. Um, what position do you hold now? What's your position? What's your official title?
So I'm a surveillance operation officer, more of a manager of nine staff in our regional surveillance center. So we run a regional center. It's like an operation center that looks at supporting 17 countries, all the way from
Yes.
Solomon Islands. We have operational
Wow.
control and task of all the patrol boats around the Pacific.
Yeah.
We have two King Air aircrafts. Um,
Wow.
that's my title. We've got a hierarchy here at the organization where I report up to the director and also our director general on all the activities that is happening. And I've got nine staff that are with me. We've got five that are Solomon Island local staff, and
Yeah.
four others that are from the Pacific, from Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Australia,
Yeah.
and I work alongside
Yep.
a couple of secondis naval officials from the Australia
Mhm.
Defence Force and also the New Zealand
Oh,
Defence Force.
okay, that sounds like something out of a movie for sure. A little bit regarding there, a little bit that sounds super exciting. And when you talked about data and analytics, you're talking my language because, yeah, that's the sort of stuff that I like to dabble in my everyday work in governance. Um, in the career that you're in, you've obviously worked in different parts of the Pacific. What are some of the unique challenges, that various island nations face when it comes to protecting marine life and resources around the region?
Well, 15 of our 17 member countries are all small island developing states. They don't have
Yeah.
the resources. So that's a key challenge that we have is we are blessed with hundreds of miles of oceans that we get to
Yeah.
own and use up all the resources in it. But it
Right.
comes with responsibility in what I do. So for the members themselves, you need to be a responsible coastal state. That's the title we have for it. You need to have the resources to patrol. You need to have the resources to look after it, ensuring there's no illegal activity, not only illegal fishing, but also transnational maritime crime. So the biggest
Yeah.
challenge that we, all of about 15 countries, are limited resources. We have to rely on a lot of the support from Australia, New Zealand, US, and
Right.
partners such as France just to help us out with the assets, the
Yeah.
capability, and also sharing some of the experience that they have. It's not a it's not an easy task for a practitioner to be in charge of surveillance in the Pacific because we're looking at 30 million square kilometers of ocean. Uh,
Wow.
no one country can do that. Not even US, even if facing challenges they're in with all the resources they have. Even Australia and New Zealand. So resource is a big one for us financially, technically, assets wise. But we're trying our best. We are trying our
Wow.
best with the support of our donor partners to help us out.
Yeah. And it sounds like it's a collective effort of all the nations in the region. All the things that you'd said, resourcing, finance, and technology, and obviously assets, and then it comes down to also experience and capability, all the things that sort of bring this the safety of our oceans together, right? It's not just about preserving what's in the ocean, but it's actually also about protecting the ocean and preserving, the nations that surround or that the ocean surrounds, isn't it?
Absolutely. And at the heart of it is the collaborations amongst the 17 Pacific Island countries. That's the beauty of it. One gets
Yeah.
short of resources, one comes in to the rescue and help them out. So that spirit of a term that I always use is a Pacific family, uh, Pacific regional solidarity and regional cooperation.
Yes.
You don't see this in any other region. You don't see this in the South China Sea, in the Asian region. You don't see this in the
Yeah.
African region. You don't see this in the Indian Atlantic region. In the Pacific,
Yes.
it's like one family. And you hear politicians and some of our leaders speak about it, the regional goals that we have. We can only get through the challenges we have as a group, as a family.
Yeah. You would There's a lot to be said about, a group just collective efforts around the world to protect not only what we call our food bar, right? Because that's essentially where we also eat from.
Yeah.
It's not just where we eat from, but obviously it's about preserving the oceans to ensure that, what we do collect from the ocean is the right quality of, fish and so on.
It's not only
Yeah.
we're looking at illegal fishing, the resources itself,
Yep.
but we're also looking at crime, and drugs, and also other maritime transnational crime that we're looking at in the lens of the functions of our surveillance center, just to help out the police network, the immigration
Yes.
network, and also the customs with the work that they are struggling um, to to cope with the increase of drugs in the Pacific and illegal immigrants.
If I think about your space, what do you think would be one of the sort of the most misunderstood part of your job? If you think about others that don't quite know about your work, do you come across, people who don't quite understand the extent of what you do and what you've just explained to me?
We have a regional action plan that brings in all these regional agencies. So we sit up here, we support the governments at the national level. We're trying to collaborate at the regional level in terms of
Yep.
a couple of key actions. And you hear the chiefs of police and the commissioners talk about this action plan a lot. That promotes information sharing, not only between
Yep.
us in the fisheries space, but with other
Yep.
general border law enforcement and vice versa as well. The opportunities to
Yep.
do more patrols, to do proper
Mhm.
inspections of whatever's coming in country, whether it's
Yeah.
yachts, any vessels, container ships, and applying the risk assessments on all incoming vessels that potentially have some illegal activities to have been conducted or bringing in any illegal substance. So there's an action plan that we're progressing. It's fairly new at this stage, but I think this is potentially the solution. Not so much the
Yep.
solution, but it's making us head to the right directions in terms of regional.
Yep. So it sounds like you've got a bit of a roadmap for, kind of where you guys want to head, your North Star. In terms of your roadmap, would you say that something, it's a roadmap of say 3 to 5 years, or it's a 10-year roadmap? What would you say is the view?
Yeah, so we've got a short term and also long term, looking at 5 to 10 year plan, but that's also
Yeah.
subject to the risk evolving or getting worse or any other emerging issues that come through the
Yep.
maritime space, in addition to the fisheries, illegal fisheries, and
Has there been a view to look at leveraging artificial intelligence and how that might be able to help you in terms of data collection, in terms of, um, sort of sharing that information, or even looking at assisting you in the emerging, looking at what is actually emerging in the next, say, beyond 10 years' time?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Rach, and that's the heart of what I do. Uh, so I'm
Right.
Darius and Fisheries, a technology provider, and what our
Mhm.
are to address the challenge. And remember that challenge I mentioned earlier was the ocean. So we're trying to
Yes.
use a lot of technology instead of setting up patrol boats or aircrafts. So the use of satellite, what we call radio
Mm.
frequency scans, that scans um, anytime a ship uses a radio or its radar out in the ocean. We also
Yes.
synthetic aperture radars, all these sort of different types of technology where we take imagery from the satellite, uh,
Yes.
targeting a vessel or any object that is on the surface of the ocean. So we're trialing a lot of these technology in the past 5 years, and some of them
Yeah.
it really helps. That
Okay.
saves the Pacific costs and easy that is affordable for the members to use. In addition to that, one is what you also mentioned about the artificial intelligence. So looking at
Mm.
a lot of automation in our data processing. So we handle a lot of
Yeah.
data that is emanating
Yeah.
from the members, the satellite, the
Yeah.
vessels, and even data that are coming in from captains that are on board the vessels. So
Yeah.
one of our challenges is trying to automate the analysis, correlations of all this data, and we're tapping in a lot of in doing some investments in AI with a couple of technology providers such as Google and other um, we've got other rich organizations that are willing to help the Pacific into sending some engineers and codings and to use
Yeah.
AI to help with the
Yes.
manpower challenge that we have.
And then, of course, making some predictions out of that data as well. I imagine that you'd be using some of that data to predict out some of the emerging factors that are coming through and how you might be able to use that information to improve your practices, your policies, your technology, all that sort of stuff. But it takes funding and partnership, I imagine.
You've nailed it right there in terms of the support to its the analytical space, doing some analysis on predicting the fish stocks, what's happening in different areas of the Pacific. But a lot of it comes to our work towards developing intelligence to
Mhm.
inform taskings of our patrol boats and our aircraft.
Mhm.
So sending the assets to the right location where there is activity using AI to support risk assessments and also intelligence
Uh,
analysis. So we're fairly new in this space. If you asked me
yes.
5 years ago, what's AI? We never even thought of it. Everything was manual by
Yes.
analysts, human analysts. But now,
Yes.
with the technology evolving, I think it's a matter of catching up and maximizing it in a positive way.
Yeah.
Because there's also risks of it uh, that can
Yeah.
potentially um, the existing information that we have at my work.
Yeah. I could probably geek out on your work for hours to come.
Yeah, I think we better move on. I think we could another time for specific session.
Yeah. Yes, I'd love that. That you better look out for an invitation from me for that topic alone. For the next generation, then, Ronnie, for anyone, people that are listening or are followers that are watching us today, who might be interested in working in ocean conservation or government work in the Pacific. What would you say to those young people in terms of their pursuit if that's what they want to do?
Yeah, that's a great one. Apart from the usual advice that we hear of working hard, never give up, I think if you
Yeah.
really want a career in the environment, fisheries, or law enforcement, I think you can make that uh, general's coverage of the basic units that you normally take in high school or college, but that shift
Yeah.
really comes in when you hit the tertiary at the university level, in the selection of
Yes.
focusing on what you want to do. If you really want to do this, then we're up for science units. We're up for science, exposing yourself to environmental science, to marine science, to
Yeah.
even as far as the technical side, looking at physics, chemistry, areas that you
Yes.
need to expose yourself to. But that's the foundation of it. Getting the basics right of
Mm.
what is needed for this career, uh, parameters of this career. In terms of progressing that, so getting the right selection and also um, keeping eye on that goal, where to work in the ministry, whether it's by invitation or by default appointment, such as what I went through. But it's a beautiful pathway with a lot of fun. It's fun to go through this um, certain units to just get you prepared for it. But a lot of it will come through the experience when you get into that workforce. So
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to get that hands-on experience where you're actually out on the field. You're out in the water,
Yeah.
out in the wharf, out in
Yeah.
the vessels, out talking to people in the community. And that was the
Mhm.
important part, was to just to get that
Yeah.
experience. How are they struggling with this less catch? Are they struggling with issues on fuel of vessels and all of those sort of issues that surround the work that you do? So
Yeah.
that's a perfect career uh, advice. Which is when you get to that experience, is what you learn, small things that you learn in small tasks. It may not matter then, but it will matter as you go through, as you go through.
That is such amazing advice because what I'm hearing from you is you could be into data analytics, you could be into physics, you could be into science, you could be into all things the environment, you can be into law enforcement, you can be into serving your country, working for the government. Like if you want a career in any of those aspects, you can get it right where you're working. It's not just a role of an area that just has guys out on the boat looking with binoculars watching the ocean. It involves a whole bunch of other important technical roles. And one of the important messages that you're also sharing, I think, and tell me if I'm wrong with this, is that when you do start out in your experience, it is about getting the smart things right. It is about doing the fundamentals and learning the grassroots of what it takes to build your skills in this space. And then it opens you up to many other options for where you can go in this career, right? Would that be correct?
Absolutely. So it's something that I always advise people that seek that advice from me is the taking those small factors, um, learning from it. Uh, there will come a time because I've lived through it. There is come a it did come a time where I speak to a conference of hundreds of people, 500 of people, and it keeps my mind whatever topic I was talking about. It takes you back to
Mhm.
small steps, small basics, whatever case study or example that I did at the national level and I did it right. You'll never forget it. And doing that right helps you learn and you'll remember it throughout your career. And that's something that I always hold dear is
Yeah.
even if it's a small task.
I love that.
Yeah.
In terms of, can we talk about your heritage? For those who were born out of Samoa or out of the Pacific Islands, do you have any online resources or, sort of organizations that exist out there that can help us or help others learn about, our culture and our language and our food?
Pretty tricky one. I'm even trying to live through that as well while living abroad. But that What we talked earlier about the community engagements and so getting intact with connection with your community. So
Yeah.
there's something that we're going through within my family is the just trying to relive it abroad, even if it's just your own family. Um,
Yeah.
the ability to engage or communicate in your own language within the family. So I try as much as I can to speak in Samoan to my children, my two boys, and even as far as my wife. She doesn't like it
Yeah.
when I talk to her in Samoan, but it's just going through that, getting that practice.
Yes.
Yeah, just make it an ongoing activity at home. Uh,
Yes.
Other than communication, we were also got the the basic life, just doing things the Samoan way at home, cooking. Trying to do some movies here at home. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
we used to do some practice runs through it. Is another
Yeah.
thing. And yeah, within the community, within your family, uh,
Yes.
not so much I have any resources. I know any resources online, but it's just
Yeah.
now it's just starting up in the family itself. And
Yes. And so,
yeah,
and some,
we've got a big family living abroad and uh,
yes.
provides you that ability, but living alone would be a challenge. You just have to turn to YouTube.
That's exactly right. So what I'm hearing you is if you're Samoa or Polynesian or anything, then maybe sometimes get on the plane and fly back to where you came and visit the island.
Yeah.
Get off and visit the islands, talk to
Save that
your
cash
friends.
for holiday.
Yeah, save the money and
And when people return from those short holidays, they really enjoy it.
yes,
Um, the
yes,
ability to live throughout every day, try and live through it, try and practice it, is something that
yes.
you can add on to it.
When you're living abroad, is it difficult for you to not living, but you are, temporarily away from the family? Is it is it difficult for you to balance your cultural identity while living abroad, or is it because you've got others who are also of Polynesian descent there with you that makes it a little bit easier? What's it like when you're on the road?
Well, it's not that hard, given what we went through and the foundation and the course that we've set. It's never gonna be lost. We're never gonna lose track of it. What we're
Yeah.
finding is a lot of interest from around our community. So there's a lot of whether it's Yohni, Samoan activities or our community activities, but also
Hmm.
other cultures such as Tuvalu, Kiribati, Solomon Islands.
Yeah.
They're seeing some interesting things within our heritage, our culture, that they want to know more, they want to adopt, they want to pick up. So
Yes.
you feel that they want to adapt, they want to attach themselves to and learn from it, and also I see some examples the cultures picking that up.
Okay. I love that. I love that. There's always something you can learn from each other, even when you're in the same ocean, you're in the same region, right? Um, think about, say, your travels across the Pacific. Um, what do you think the Pacific people do really well? And what's the one thing you think we could also improve on?
We do very well in the respect and the fatherhood, and especially down in the Polynesian culture. Um,
Okay.
Down Tonga, Niue, Tuvalu, Samoa. So there's always that big respect that they have among the families, the elders, to people within the community. But
Hmm.
so much in other parts of the Pacific.
That's very interesting. And then what could we be doing better? Do you think, or do you think we're there?
Maybe it's a cultural practice, but maybe not change it. But Yeah, exposure. Just learning from each other. You need to travel more to other countries or expose yourself to other cultures.
So if you could say create a message for the youth, the Pacifica youth today, what would you want them to hear?
To ensure that you getting the right exposure and also the right advice in a very fast world that we're living in.
Mm,
Generations nowadays, I've got my children that are within the teenage ages that um, I try and slow it down a little bit, try and remind them of how life was in the past, but also not to slow them down too much. In a good way.
yes, yes, that's really good advice. Um, so basically, what you're saying here is, although we're living in a fast-paced world, we've got a lot of technology around us. There is that tendency to want to just, sort of moving fast and keeping up with everything that's around us. But the important thing to do is just continue to remember who you are, stay grounded in your roots. Or remember those fundamentals and the things that you've grown up with to bring you back down to earth. And remember that there's a higher power out there in your Christianity and obviously your family roots keep you grounded. I think that's what I'm hearing from you. In everything that you've just said to me, what's the one thing that you want to pass down to the next generation?
What we started off with, the staying within your Christianity, the foundations around God, keeping God at the center of your family, your career, and
Yeah.
well, never lose sight of it. Where whatever success and challenges that you have in life, I think that's a key part of how far we've come within our family, but also my parents as well.
Mm,
That was primarily from the parents. So, and that's
that's
a key
it.
component. It'll never go away, and I'll continue to to talk about it, to promote it, because of the basics that we learn from in-house in the family, on the
Mm,
respect amongst the family members, your parents, your church leaders, the elders especially, and for our serving.
mm. And your matai. And I think one of the things that I always remember as well is not only the respect, but obviously honoring your parents by being a good person in society and giving back. It's always about giving back because that's where we started off with nothing, and you got to give back to where we started from. Um, the conversation with you has been so incredibly insightful, and I've learned a lot in this conversation. You I hope that you will accept my invitation for when we talk more about fisheries and how far you've come, because I wanna talk about that, later in the year. But I just wanna say, hi, Kafita, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to talk to this Thirstee Coconut.
Thank you very much, Rach, and really value the time and the opportunity for me to talk on this show. And I'll only accept the next invitation if it's a face to face, either in the Pacific, here in Solomon, or there in Australia. So thank you very much for having me.
Maua Lava.